Well, welcome back to the channel. Now, as some of you know, from time to time, I visit my mum, known as Googie, and she's an avid gardener. And we have a little walk around the garden, so we're going to make a clip walking around the garden. But sometimes some of you send me questions for her, and I thought we'd answer them. So I'm going to make two clips. And clip number one is going to be her good gardening and floristry stories, of which she has many. And clip number two is going to be a walk around the garden. So you're very welcome, and off we go. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks we give you along the way are useful, you can always buy me a coffee, or better still, join my club. Right, let's get on. Here she comes.
Hello, my friends. How are you all?
So this is my mother, Googie, and I'm just going to remind, we're going to speak very clearly. Because
Yes.
we've got no microphones.
I'd like Georgie to turn around the camera so that you can see my beautiful blue weeds.
Hold the line,
Hold
caller.
the line and here it'll go.
Here it comes. What are these weeds, Mum?
They are Viper's bugloss,
And
and
who?
they're quite rare. I picked some seed when I was fishing up in Inverness and popped it in my pocket, and when I got back I put it all in a little seed tray, and look what came up.
It's all the way
Look
down.
at the height of them.
They are
Some of them.
fantastic. Right, I'm going to turn the phone round again, Mum. So we're going to be loud and very clear. And if a motorbike goes along the bottom of the road, we'll just shout.
Yes, okay, fair enough. Let's go.
So let's have the listeners have been asking for your best stories. So we've made a list. You know I love a list. And first of all, you're going to tell us your first gardening story. Can you tell us about Gran and the fruit packing?
Yes, well, Gran, my mother, was quite fierce, and with 6 children, she had to keep us busy at all times. And when we weren't riding our shared bicycle down a slight slope in the vegetable garden on, first of all, 1 brick underneath a door, and then 2 bricks, and then 3 bricks, and then we broke the bicycle, so we had to stop. So we were told to go and pack all the strawberries in her pre-printed little baskets, or little square baskets, you know what they are. And we soon learnt to put the tiny little and not quite ripe ones yet at the bottom, and the very big glossy ones at the top. And we were actually quite good at it. But meanwhile, I packed quicker than anybody else. So I crept off and I went inside the net, which was over the one tree full of white with pink blushings of cherries. And unfortunately, I was wearing a cotton frock of the 1945 sort of time, and it had buttons all down the back. So of course I got caught up in the buttons, and I was stuck, and I had to admit to stealing cherries. Anyway, that's the story of my life. But I had packed faster than all of them, so I was forgiven just once.
You had earned your cherries.
I had earned my cherries,
And
and we never sold the cherries. We just had them for our own mixture. But once, a packet during the war, or just after the war, a packet of mixed dried fruit arrived from America, because we couldn't get raisins for anything. And of course I found them in the larder and I ate them. And that was the one time when my mother spanked me viciously with the back of a hairbrush. And gosh, it's efficient. That really hurt. I never did it again.
Well, you did once spank one of us. And it was also a garden-related incident. Not, I hasten to add, myself. But there was a time when my sister Beatrice, whoops-a-daisy, jumped up and down on the Victorian glass cloches.
Gosh, I was angry. I was so angry.
And that was the end of the cloches.
And the end of the hairbrush, because it broke off the handle, because I was viciously beating my daughter. And I think nowadays she could probably have me up and send me to prison for beating her.
Well, she won't. I think you're all right.
Too late now. She's forgotten.
Next on the list, I love this, is you've written piglets.
Oh, piglets. My mother decided after the war that she would have pigs. She started off with a very, very nice herd of Guernsey cows. And we used to climb right along the beams over the bull's stall to watch him performing with the cows. And we were absolutely riveted because we didn't know about sex or anything like that, because we were sort of, by then, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Anyway, my mother came in and caught us and said that now on we're going to have the bull in the bowler hat, children. And we had no idea what she was talking about. And the other day I saw a van with Siemens written on it, the side, and I said to Rachel Pedley, who is our local farmer, I said, oh gosh, there goes the bull in the bowler hat. And she laughed until I thought she was going to cry. There we go.
So that was inseminating the cows.
That's 2 stories gone at once.
That's very good.
We're going to get through this very quickly.
Now, talk to me about Christmas trees.
Oh, yes. When we were about 15, we were turned into little entrepreneurs, and my parents lent us money, provided what we were going to do with the money made sense to them. And one of my brothers, David, said he wanted to borrow money because he wanted to plant tiny, tiny little trees. They're called something different when they're tiny.
Okay.
They're called a sprout or something.
A sapling.
No, more extraordinary. Anyway, they said what sort of trees?
A whip.
Christmas. It's a whip.
Thank you.
And so he would like money for 100 whips, and they said 100. He said, well, all right, 200 then. So he was given a part of a field and money to buy 200 whips, and he made a fortune. So that was the beginning of calling my second brother, who was always called Uncle Yoo-hoo. We called him Stavros Niarchos instead, because he was going to be as rich. But he never got as rich as David, because Christmas trees were the thing. There we are. We got through that.
Very good. Well done. And the Christmas, yes, that is very enterprising of Uncle Dave back in the day. Now, well, you've told me the watching the bull story, but you didn't tell me the piglets story.
Oh, the piglets, yes. My mother decided to have pigs. And so we bought a house which had a bomb hole through it, and it had dry rot and everything that you do. I mean, we just played tennis with a tennis net in the drawing room for 10 years until we could afford to get rid of the dry rot. But, you know, that was another story. The grand piano went in there once, and this was a different story. It's not even done. And my half-brother, who was 7 years younger than me, so really wicked, was seen with his pop gun, which actually had little pellets in it, so it wasn't really a pop gun. And my mother heard a shot, and somebody said, ow. And the cleaning lady was dusting under the piano, and he got her in the left buttock. So he was beaten as well. You know, we were all beaten considerably.
Yeah, but I want to know about the piglets.
Okay, piglets. Okay, my mother decided to have pigs, so I don't know what sort they were. Probably white floppy-eared things. And it was just after the war, and you really had to say how many pigs you'd got still, despite the war. And she had very, very good breeding sows. And when they'd had 100 piglets, they were allowed to retire. And then they were allowed 10 years happy life, and then we ate them. But you know, they had a breather, and they had corner things that they couldn't lie on their own children, which you do quite considerably. And they were called wonderful things like Eva and Esme, and they had lovely names. They were gorgeous, and we were very fond of them. And she said that they were the cleanest animals on the planet, because if they made a mess, they were upset. And so she used to get the cowmen to clean them out every single day. They got through lots and lots of straw. There we are.
I love that. And tell me, so what?
Oh, I've just remembered something else.
Oh, good.
Yes. You know, when you put milk in a canister with a lid and you swing it round your head, don't ever stop, because the milk will pour out. We all learnt how to do that when we went down to get still warm milk, because it was pulled out of the teats of the cows, and we were all jolly good at milking, and really, into a bucket with lovely hissing sounds. And we used to do it over and over. Oh, we were wonderful.
And
to
very
have
good for you.
six children, I mean, free help. Wow.
You've got to use them. So do you remember, I know, do you remember your first real gardening experience? What was the first thing you learned?
Not to tread on a glass a Victorian cloche for starters. No, it was quite interesting because we were given a little strip of garden each with a box hedge around it, as you did. The box hedges were there already. And it was interesting to see who grew vegetables and who grew plants. And of course I did flowers. But it was fun. It was fun, and we were very good at weeding and very good at growing. And the ones who grew vegetables, of course, brought them in to be eaten, and we didn't always eat them. We had once an Italian cook, and her mother made an unfortunate, oh, here comes the sun, an unfortunate pudding with a terrible name, which I won't tell you. And my brother Christopher said, we can't eat this pudding yet again. So he was told to get rid of it. So he went out with this plastic glass bowl and came back a few minutes later saying, done. And when we came down to breakfast in the morning, there was this pink jellified creation full of raw grated sour apples. I mean, it was not nice at all. And there it was, quivering on the front drive. He hadn't gone quite far enough. Never mind.
Now, your floristry experience is...
yes, that was interesting.
Tell us about you. So Googie worked at the Dorchester Hotel as a florist under Oliver Messel, who was the creative director at the time. Now, first of all, can you tell us how you got the job?
I got the job by lying, which I do proficiently and always have done. And it was interesting. I went for an interview and they said, are you trained? And I said, yes, Spry, because I had heard of a Constance Spry and I thought that was a good place to train. And they said, can you start on Monday? And I said, no. It was £10 a week with breakfast and lunch and a newspaper with the crease out of it. I mean, heaven on earth. But 10 to 3, £10 a week, it paid for the rent with money left over. That was incredible. That was in 1950. I was back from school. I'd been to Florence.
59?
Probably 59. I started, and I did it for 4 or 5 years. It was a good fun thing.
Did you get some training?
Yes.
They offered you the job?
Yes, I went to Spry and said, can you train me very, very quickly? And they said, yes, next week, come on Monday and Wednesday, because we've got out-of-town florists coming for a refresher course and watch everything they do. So I had a day's training. It was really interesting.
And then you went to the Dorchester, and on your first day you had to make a bride's bouquet.
Yes. Well, the silly girl who was getting married, I said, what flowers would she like? And she said, I only want freesia. So I wired every freesia head, and she carried 4.5 tons of leaded wire with a few broken freesia heads up. But she looked very happy. I'm sure she would. I gave her a whopping bill.
Well done.
But also I had to, that was at the weekend, of course. I was the new florist, so I had to do the weekend. But it was fun doing the weekends because very famous people were walking around and buying books, and I used to go and stand next to them and breathe in their aura.
Tell us about how you used to have to do flowers for the bedrooms, and they were called your country posies.
No, this was for the middle of all the dining room tables. We did it first thing, and they were known as Fleming's Little Country Bunches.
Which is, frankly, pretty much my job. I just make country bunches. So, 60, 70 years later, on we go with the country bunches. Now, your very best story about working at the Dorchester, Winston Churchill's funeral, lady and gentlemen.
Yes.
What is the story?
Well, my boss said, anybody come with a car today? And I said, yes, I did. Right, go to Winston Churchill's funeral and take the illegal bunch of red roses in a sort of wadge wodge of green stuff. I can't remember even what it's called.
Oasis.
And they said, but there's a problem. It's sent
Who were they ordered by?
I'm just saying.
Oh, sorry.
Bossy
Sorry.
Boots. Do you know, she never grows up.
Talk loudly.
Oh, talk louder. Right. It was the Queen Mother's equerry sent them from the Queen Mother. But it was family flowers only. And he'd written his name, not the Queen Mother's name. So anyway, I collected this lump of red roses, rang my mother and said, you want to come to the funeral? And my aunt said that we could come to lunch because we weren't allowed to put the flowers down with the family flowers only until the funeral was over. So we had lunch with my aunt, looked over the wall until all the family had gone, and then we hopped over carrying the little red lump and went and read all the other labels and put the little red lump behind, and then we went and had lunch and gave the bill to the Dorchester afterwards. It was really quite fun. We enjoyed it, and we felt terribly naughty.
That's a fun. I love the fact that you drove down to Blenheim Palace.
No, it was Blenheim Church.
Yes, no, but you had you had this heap of flowers, and that you sat in Aunt Philippa's garden waiting for the funeral to be over. It's a very good story, isn't it?
Well, my mother dined out on it forever.
Well, you're
Absolutely.
still dining out.
Yes, I am. Yes, look at me. Well, never mind.
Thank you very much, Googie.
Have you got to the bottom of the list?
We've got to the bottom of the list.
Oh, good heavens, how extraordinary.
So now we're going to make another clip. We're going to go for a walk around the garden.
And I'm going to take you first to my blue hydrangeas. And I'm going to tell you that I should have buried a dead rat or half a pound of rusty nails because only half of them are blue. But they're the only flower. No, I didn't. So they're pink and blue mixed. Anyway, see you later in the hydrangeas. Goodbye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.